Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode 12 of Asia Rugby Live Season 3. We're almost at the end of Season 3. You know what? Thank you very much, guys, for joining us on Asia Rugby Live as we talk to some amazing people from all over the world. And today, of course, we have some special guests, one from Hong Kong and one from Singapore. But before that, I would like to encourage you guys, please do follow Asia Rugby Live YouTube page, Facebook page, Instagram page, Asia Rugby Live. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and press on the bell button so that you receive future notifications should we have new content for you. And of course, log on to asiarugby.com to get the latest news, latest updates, latest rugby updates from all over the world. If you log on to asiarugby.com, now you can see that World Rugby launches a global sport for all strategic plan 2021 to 2025. So that's a really interesting read for you guys who are involved in rugby, players, coaches, volunteers alike. So check it out on asiarugby.com. And also, I think this is a really good positive news in terms of education, where World Rugby announced that concussion education driving surge in World Rugby cost completions to 1.8 billion. So this is really important. Yeah, you need to educate yourself on concussion. So why not log on to the World Rugby's education website and sign up and learn, guys. This is really good for you. And I think it will benefit you in some ways. Probably someday you might be attending to someone who is experiencing concussion. You never know. And of course, the last news I would like to update everyone is about the Rugby Sevens match officials unveiled for Tokyo Olympics with less than 100 days to go. And today, one of them is on the show. So let me introduce the guest for today, one from Hong Kong and the other one from Singapore, just stone throw away, literally from me. Matt Rodden from who is based in Hong Kong. He's actually from New Zealand. And Wang Shao-Ing from Singapore. Guys, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being with us on the show. As we always say, ladies first. So Shao, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, some introduction about yourself and your rugby journey.
Oh, afternoon, Matt. Afternoon, Rod. So hello from Singapore. Yeah, that's where I'm based. Well, my rugby journey, it's going to be a long one. How long do you have?
As long as you need, no problem.
Like most people, I started out as a player, right? And then while I was playing, got into a bit of coaching. As with a lot of female teams, I suspect, across Asia, the only way not the only way, but most often the best and fastest way to get more girls into the game is to start coaching yourself. So that's how I got into coaching as well. And I had the great privilege of coaching the national women's team, the sevens team, for about 5 seasons. And I still continue to coach today with my club side and help mentor younger female coaches. I'm also a coach educator for World Rugby, so I run some coaching education courses for coach level 1, 2. Also involved a bit in the judiciary work because of my background in law. So I've volunteered on the disciplinary panels in Singapore, Asia, and also been appointed to the World Rugby panel for judicial officers as well. So I think that's kind of it in a nutshell.
And you have an impressive CV. I've read your CV just now. Kuram sent it to me, so thank you very much. It's a really impressive CV. And one thing, guys, one thing Shao didn't tell you all, that Shao was the judiciary officer at the Rio Olympics. So I am curious, Shao, who did you reprimand in the Olympics in 2016? So I think we'll talk after the show ends. Anyway, and Matt from Hong Kong. So Matt, you have, I guess it's quite exciting for you when they announce who is going to officiate, but officiate the Olympics. But before we get on to that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and also your rugby journey? Someone who is from the rugby country of the world, New Zealand, who is based in Hong Kong, and you get this golden opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. Thanks for having me on your show. It's great to be here. So I started refereeing back in 2012 when I was finishing up at university. Got involved while I was still playing. So I did both for a year. Would referee in the morning and then play in the afternoon, which was a good challenge. And after refereeing a handful of games in New Zealand, packed up my bags and headed over. Actually lived in mainland China for a little bit, but would come across to Hong Kong every weekend to referee. So pretty much all of my refereeing was done in Hong Kong. So I've my development's all been here, which is something I'm quite proud of. So started here at the end of 2012. Started on Asia Rugby 2014. And then started on the World Series 2016 here in Hong Kong. So my first tournament was here, and then went to Singapore the following weekend. And then did the World Cup, Sevens World Cup in 2018 in San Francisco, which was a huge achievement for us. And then, a few years later, we're ready for Tokyo in 100 days' time.
Yeah, and of course the appointment as a referee at the Olympics in Tokyo, it must be exciting. What's the feeling like? Can you describe the feeling to us?
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible feeling. Obviously, it's a great achievement personally, but I think for referees here in Hong Kong and around Asia, to just continue that pathway. Obviously, Gabby Lee and Sakurako were there in Rio on the refereeing side. So to be able to build on that momentum that Asia's had and to represent Hong Kong and Asia on the men's series and at the Olympics is really exciting. Obviously, we've all been waiting a little bit longer than we hoped to for the Olympics to take place. So same for us. We've been waiting that extra year, but yeah, now with not too long to go, we're really excited to get there and just to get the tournament and the whole games underway.
As Matt is not the only referee that is from Asia that's been appointed to be officiating at the Olympics this year. Sakurako Kawasaki from Japan has also been appointed as the other official from Asia to be referee at the Olympics. So that's quite exciting for Asia, as two referees from Asia is going to be representing, I think, the whole of Asia as referees. So I guess the experiences that you and Sakurako going to get at the Olympics would be beneficial to everyone, because I think this is not the end of the journey for you. There's many more things that you can share with the younger referees, but we'll talk about that later in terms of development and whatnot. I want to take back to Shao. Shao, talking about the Olympics in 2016, what was it like to be a part of rugby sevens at the Olympics back then?
Well, I think it was very special for one reason, and that was because it's the first time that rugby sevens was in the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
I think rugby was in the Olympics a long time ago in the 15s format, but it had been decades since. So, and for rugby to showcase what it was to rugby fans, right, to the rest of the world, I think that was the most special part about being part of that experience. I suppose I could, when you talk about being part of it, and maybe Matt can attest to this as well, that there's a very long lead up that you have to go through before you get to that stage. So by the time that you do get appointed, and maybe we can ask Matt how he feels, because you do go through a selection process, and then you're at each part and each stage you're assessed on your performance as well as a match official and as a judicial officer. So when you do get appointed, it's incredible. I mean, I think it's an incredible feeling. It's something that will, never leave you. And I think the day that you kind of carry it around with you for quite a few weeks or maybe even months, right, Matt?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm sure, you met a lot of players that you always see on TV. You've been fan of them. What was it like as a judicial officer at the Olympics, Shao? Have you been put in the spot whereby, oh my God, I need to, cite this player or cite this player? Have you been in that situation at the Rio Olympics?
Well, I guess for as I mentioned, there are a lot of stages that you go through before you get to that point. So, you first start in your local sort of leagues, and then you get appointed to some international games, and for example, in your region like Asia Rugby, and then you sort of do quite a number of international events before and I suppose to many. Rugby, the Olympics would be the pinnacle event for the sevens in terms of appointments like these. So, of course, there's the Rugby Sevens World Cup as well, but that happens, every 4 years. So, in a sense, you do kind of you are thrown into these environments many times before you do get to the Olympics. But the Olympics is a very special one, right? Because it's not just rugby; it's part of this entire multi-sport event and the Olympic movement, which has a legacy in its own right. And to be part of that, I think, is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it's incredible, especially being in an environment where every top players gather for once in 4 years. I think it's fantastic and something that Matt you would definitely be cherished for the rest of your life, as in this experience. What are the things that you are looking forward to, Matt, at the Olympics?
I think the whole spectacle of the Olympics is always what people look forward to every 4 years. As you say, Rod, you've got the best athletes in the world there from every sport. So even though it's probably going to be a little bit different than normal on the ground there, just being in and amongst that environment is going to be really special. And I think obviously Shao touched on the whole point of that selection being really special and the whole journey to get there. So a bit of a misconception that refereeing's quite individual. We really work as a team. So there's 11 male referees, 11 female referees going to the Olympics. And we've worked for the last 5 years as a team to get ourselves in the best place to have the best team there for the Olympics, which is obviously the pinnacle of sevens for the players, coaches, and all the officials involved with it. So just to be able to top off that 5-year journey with a team that we've become really close and we all work really hard for each other and we're all really supportive of each other. Whoever gets selected for the final of each tournament, we get in behind them and we're really happy for them. It's you've got your personal goals, but at the end of the day, we're all there to support the team and to make sure that we do the best job out there collectively. So yeah, just to top off that 5-year journey with the Olympics is going to be really special, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And talking about the Olympics, right? Of course, you have your own preparation. Because you need to be at least at the same fitness of these world class athletes, world class rugby sevens players. So, what are the preparations going into the Olympics? Have you done for yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we work really hard as referees on our fitness. Is just one of the things that we obviously have to work on, and we work harder in training than the games, and I think that obviously that's the same for the players as well. So we really push ourselves in training so that come game time, we're able to be in the best position but we're able to have a clear mind so that we can make as accurate decisions as possible. So the training can be quite hard. So for a World Series tournament, we arrive sort of 5 or 6 days before, and we'll have 3 training sessions in that time, which are really tough sessions. We're pushing ourselves to our limits there, so that come the weekend and come the actual games, we're really comfortable being out there and amongst some of the best athletes in the world, and we're able to do a really good job so that they can show us all their skills. So that's what we're there for. So yeah, the training that goes in is pretty intense, and it's it's all to make sure that product is really something that the spectators want to tune in and watch. Obviously this year's been a little bit different, not being traveling for rugby, not being in that team environment as we lead into this. We're really lucky in Hong Kong that we've got a great group of referees that push each other. So that's been good for me to train with those guys and girls as often as possible. And they've been pushing me to physically be at my best come Tokyo and that Olympic tournament.
And it must be a bit, I guess there's some pressure, right, to be at your best, level fitness best, to be, at your knowledge best in terms of, because you are officiating one of the biggest rugby tournament in the world. And talking about the Olympics and talking about Matt's past experiences, actually, Matt as well as Sakurako Kawasaki was appointed to officiate the World Rugby Sevens World Cup 2018. The one who has been picked to be the official for the Olympics in Tokyo is Noriaki Hashimoto, who is also from Japan. So I guess congratulations to both of you who has been appointed as the referee for the Olympics 2020. Or 2020-21. Anyway, looking back, Shao, as being a judicial officer, does it help with the knowledge of the law when you are applying as the judicial officer? Has it helped with your experiences handling with cases in the past?
Thanks, Rod. I was really disappointed you didn't ask me about my preparations and fitness regime leading up to
I'm sure the fitness is over here, right?
Yeah. Do you mean knowledge of laws generally?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a prerequisite to be legally trained and have a certain number of years as a lawyer standing to be a judicial officer. So I guess the answer is yes. It is about the application of the regulations to the game, but you do have to know the game well as well. So that would be my very brief answer. And I realized I didn't really answer your question just now about if I had to, and I think the word you used was cite somebody who is famous or somebody that I have seen before on TV or something like that. The truth is, as a judicial officer, we're really it only comes to us after it's been passed through a few good hands, and that includes match officials like Matt. They make an on-field decision. We might get a citing, which is done by a citing commissioner. So by the time it comes to the judicial officer, two very experienced pairs, sometimes two very experienced pairs of eyes have already looked at it. And to that end, then the job of the judicial officer is to give the player a fair hearing and also to, apply the regulations accordingly.
Okay, thank you for that. And of course, it's really interesting because the thing is, because you are involved behind the scene. You just wait for if there's any cases that you guys need to cite, you guys need to this is after the game. So you before that, you enjoy the game, you watch the game. If there's something that happens, then you guys come in and I guess settle it. So in terms of that, do you really enjoy at the environment of, let's say, the Rio Olympics or 2019 Rugby World Cup? Do you enjoy the whole atmosphere of being there?
Well, I mean, I would say two things. In the sevens tournament, as you know, in a day there can be up to 20 games, right? And over a weekend, 40. And at the Hong Kong sevens, which is a 3-day event, that could be far more. So a hearing does need to take place before a player plays the next game. So if they have 3 games in a day, then the hearing needs to take place before then. So in some senses, for sevens, if there are no hearings, you could be enjoying some of it. And if there are hearings, then you won't be watching any of it. So I have had experiences where I've not watched anything for 2 days because there were so many hearings. So it really does vary from tournament to tournament.
Wow, I see. I thought it was all about enjoying the games. Anyway, Matt, being picked as the ref for the Olympics, do you guys have like a fitness test that you need to go through? And if you have, what kind of fitness test and what was your score?
Just don't ask me about the law. We'll trade targeted questions, please. So I think obviously fitness is a huge thing for us. So we've got fitness targets throughout the year. So it's been no different for us now. We want to stay about 80-90% fit year round. It can be 5 minutes notice and we're out there to referee a game. And then we go between sevens and 15s different weekends. So we've kind of got to be ready to go. And sevens generally being in the summer or the non-15 season means we've got to be ready all year round. In terms of fitness testing, we do the Bronco test. That's one of the tests they get us to do, and we do a 40-meter sprint and skin fold testing, which is sometimes a struggle for me, but that's not the most fun. But so generally Bronco test and 40-meter are the ones we got to tick off before sort of each tournament.
So what was your Bronco score? Bronco timing?
My most recent Bronco is 4 minutes 44. So
wow. Impressive.
I think Bowden Barrett's 4:19 or something he was. So still got a wee way to catch Bowden, but 4:12. There you go.
Yeah.
So, the refs we're all under 5 minutes for the Bronco. So there's a really fit bunch of refs there. The female refs are really pushing hard as well. Salika Winiata from New Zealand, she's doing under 4:40, I think, for her Bronco. So it's very competitive. The good thing there is we try and hit our PB each time. So we try and improve our score each time we do it. I'm at 4:44 at the moment, which is not too bad. I'm happy with that.
Has there been in any situation that you were faster than the players on the field? I'm talking about the world level, world level.
I'd like to say I can race Carla Niles and Perry Baker, but
wow.
I'd be lying. So we kind of get in trouble if we start racing players. So I'd race some of the forwards maybe if I was going to do that, but some of those speedsters on the wing are pretty hard to catch. But we want to stay out of the way. If we're racing to beat the players to the try line, then we're probably going to get ourselves in trouble. So we'll stay at the back.
For sure. And to you guys out there, to our viewers, please, if you have any questions that you want to ask about their experiences, how these guys, how Matt and Shao got here to where they are, please, comment down below on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll try to relay your questions to them for them to answer. And moving on, Shao, you are the coach for Singapore women's team, and how can you tell us a little bit about your experience in that field, coaching after being a judicial officer? Now you are in coaching.
Well, I was the coach. I stopped in 2019, end of 2019 rather. I still am, and I was a judicial officer throughout. So in a way, perhaps because it's a function of the fact that Singapore is still quite a small country in terms of the rugby community. So there are lots of us who volunteer across multiple roles. So being a judicial officer was something that I was asked to help out with when I was still playing, actually. It was midway through my playing career, but because I had the legal qualifications to do so, that's when I started to do hearings at the Singapore Rugby and then I got some appointments at the Asia Rugby level. So in a way, and maybe this differs from Matt's experience, in that when you start as a match official, you usually have finished your playing career already. So I was doing both. I was a judicial officer while I was a coach as well.
Wow, cool. And you were also an Asia Rugby Exco member as well. Wow. So like I said just now at the beginning, your CV, your curriculum vitae is really impressive. And okay, let's take a Facebook question. And this is from Alhambra Nivas. Yeah, Alhambra Nivas, who is the World Rugby Match Official Manager. So for both, what are your key goals to achieve in the Olympics? Let's start with Matt first.
Yeah, I'll go first. Hi, Ali. Nice to get a question from you. Hope you're well. Firstly, is just to have fun. I think every time you go out on the pitch, every time you're involved in a game, you just got to enjoy it. Not only because that's hopefully why you got into it in the first place, whether it's playing, refereeing, coaching, or judicial or citing. If you're not enjoying it, then you're probably not going to put in a good performance. So for me, I'm just going to go there and enjoy every moment of it. And then I think just being there with the team is going to be awesome, and supporting our team to put in the best performance we can. So whoever's refereeing, whatever game it is, that we just support each other and put in the best performance. And yeah, hopefully we get a bit of a chance to enjoy the Olympic environment. As I say, it's potentially a little bit different than normal, but as much as we can, we're just trying to enjoy and soak up every moment of being there.
How about you, Shao?
I think this question was more for Matt because it's for the upcoming Olympics. But I think what was mine?
Yeah.
Obviously, to carry out my duties well. I think also when you come from Asia, you want to represent Asia well as well. That's something that always sits quite heavily with me, that I represent not just myself, but Asia, Singapore, women. Just wanted to say hi to Ellie as well. We met back in 2013 at the Asian Youth Olympics, and that was a long time ago. So it probably reflects on the journey that it takes to get to a certain point. But great to see her here.
That's great, guys. Thank you very much for that. And I want to continue with what you have done for Singapore Rugby in terms of development, Shao, for women's rugby especially. So can you take us through that journey of yours, being with the women's team and also the development side of Singapore Rugby, especially in the women's rugby?
Well, yeah, thanks for that question. It's women's rugby is something that's very close to my heart. I think I picked up rugby in the UK actually, and that's where I did my degree, because I thought I learned an English game, and so I had read about all these boarding schools and books. Where I grew up in a world without the internet, right? And so there were all these Enid Blyton books with people that played rugby in it. And I thought when I went to England, I was going to learn an English game. And and it was either going to be lacrosse or rugby, and I got invited to rugby practice, and that was it. I was hooked. When I came back to Singapore, there was already a group of very passionate women who had started playing contact rugby. This was in the late 90s. But there were very few clubs that did play rugby, contact rugby. There was a lot of touch rugby going on. So I think I was really infected by their enthusiasm in trying to grow the game and try to get more women into rugby. And then, through their efforts as well, we kind of tried to move the game forward. And as we worked harder in our game, and Singapore did better in the Asia Rugby rankings, that helped to attract some attention for sure to the sport. And then we all, actually a lot of us got into coaching so that we could get more girls into the game, through grassroots efforts, going out to the universities. I actually coached a university team for 7 to 8 years. And it all started with just trying to introduce the game there. So it's been a huge community effort, I would say, by the women in Singapore in terms of those who are already involved in rugby and trying to get more girls into the game.
And for sure, and the thing is about Singapore, you guys, the population is not large, but there's a huge rugby community over there. And do you think because of that makes your job easier to spread rugby around Singapore?
Yeah, well, certainly there is a very big rugby community in some of the schools, schoolboys especially. There's a huge rugby community at the clubs, especially at the men's level. But I think for the women's clubs, we still have a way to go before we reach, the likes of Hong Kong. It's just watching some of the, the women's premiership games over in Hong Kong. It kind of reminds us about, where we could be in terms of the number of people who are participating in playing. I think this is especially so for girls at a very young age, right? Mini rugby obviously plays a very big part in the development of rugby for Hong Kong. And it's so great to see little girls, at the age of 5, 6, already starting to play the game,
Interesting insight on the Singapore rugby development, especially for women. Taking back to the Olympics, Matt, talking about the groupings in the Olympics, are you is there any particular groups or any particular teams that you want to be a ref with in that particular game, and why?
Geez, that's a good question. Well, I think one of the teams would definitely be Japan. It's always nice to referee the home team, and if it's only going to be a local crowd, then you'll have hopefully 40,000 people cheering for Japan. So anytime you referee the home team at a tournament is always really exciting. Just the noise and atmosphere is really cool. Fiji's always an interesting team to referee. Just the way they play the game and keeping the ball alive, very unstructured, but very exciting for everyone watching, but for us as well. It can be a real challenge. So refereeing a team like them is always fun. To be honest, whoever's playing, I'm happy to be out there and making sure the tournament can go ahead and making sure the games are enjoyable for those playing and those watching as well.
Before the show started, you were telling us about your expectations towards the Olympics, because you guys can't go anywhere. Can you tell the audience what's your expectation to the Olympics? You can't go anywhere. It's the hotel and the stadium, right?
Yeah, so obviously the IOC and the organisers of Tokyo have put out playbooks for the athletes and everyone else involved. Of course it needs to be really well organised, which we know that Japan will do a tremendous job of that, and with all the different challenges that are going on at the moment. So it is going to be really logistically difficult for them. We'll be basically in the hotel for the majority of the time, and then transport to the venue. So normally we'd be, for a World Series event, we're there sort of 5 or 6 days before. Gives us a bit of time to acclimatise, recover from the travel, and then prepare physically for the weekend ahead. So for Tokyo, we're only going to be there, so I think it's 3 or 4 days before we referee. So not too bad for me, only an hour's time difference, Hong Kong to Japan. But some of the other referees coming from South America, Europe, New Zealand, Australia, some long travel, and they're not too long to get themselves into Tokyo's time zone. That's going to be a bit of a challenge for them. I might have to make sure they're well stocked up with coffees to keep them awake during the tournament.
For sure, right? And for you, have you been told that you need to go to any quarantine process when you arrive in Japan?
So the latest info we have is so we need to show a negative test before we depart, and then I think we're tested on arrival. And then, my understanding is your first 14 days in Japan, you're under that sort of hotel and venue bubble. If you're there any longer than that, I think the rules change, but we're only there for 8 days. So we're in that hotel to the venue, and that's it. Which, as I say, is going to be really different. But at the end of the day, we're there to make sure that the Olympics can go ahead safely for everyone. So we'll do whatever it takes to make sure that happens.
I guess it's going to be really interesting, right, this time around, as it is unprecedented, and it's going to be the first time Olympics is going to be how Matt is going to go through. So it's really interesting, Matt. I'm gonna text you after the Olympics is over so that you can write me an article, or you can tell me all about how you went through Olympics. Okay, guys, before we end the show, I have some rapid fire questions for both of you, Shao and also Matt. Okay, so before I start, I was curious to know, I didn't ask before this, so Matt, which part of New Zealand are you from?
I've lived all over the North Island. My home is where my parents lived, New Plymouth and Taranaki on the west coast of the North Island. But I'm a permanent resident in Hong Kong now. I've been here more than 7 years, so right. This is my home. But my second home is New Plymouth in New Zealand.
You're a Taranaki boy then. Okay. Anyway, so first question for ladies first. For Shao, what's your favorite food?
Eggs.
Okay. For Matt, where's the favorite place for you to visit?
Japan, actually. Yeah.
Shao, favorite 15s team?
Ooh, tough one. Black Ferns.
Matt, favorite sevens team?
Favorite sevens team? Ooh, I'm going to say Sri Lanka Sevens. Always fun to referee the Sri Lankans.
Wow, okay, that's good. Okay, Matt again, favorite food?
Don't tell my trainer, but probably burger and chips.
Shao, favorite place to visit?
Ooh, if I could, or if I have.
If you either one. If you could.
I'd like to go to Mongolia someday.
Wow. One place that I would love to go someday as well. Okay, Matt, favorite 15s team?
Favorite 15s team? Oh, I don't know if I can go past the All Blacks there, Rod. I think I'll go with the All Blacks.
Shao, favorite 15s team?
Ireland.
Matt, favorite rugby player?
That's a good question. I would have to go with Jerry Tuai.
Shao, favorite rugby player?
Oh,
Izzy Kade.
yeah, Izikare. Why not? Izikare.
Matt, best place to play rugby? or to be a to be a rugby referee?
Without a doubt, Hong Kong Stadium for the Hong Kong Sevens.
Shao, the best place to play rugby or to be a rugby referee?
To be a rugby referee?
Either way. The best place to play rugby or to be a rugby official? The best
Hong Kong
place.
Sevens, of course.
Wow, okay. Last question. What is the best rugby position, Matt?
Best rugby position?
Yeah.
Apart from being the referee, you mean?
Yep.
I love playing scrum half. So if I ever get the boots back on and my mouth guard, then I'll play scrum half.
Shao?
Hooker, I'd say.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for sharing your insights, sharing your experiences, sharing everything about you guys to our audiences. Thank you very much for being here on Asia Rugby Live. Matt, good luck for at the Olympics in Tokyo. Less than 100 days. I miscount. I'm not sure how many days more, but I'm sure you are counting the days. You are really excited to go, and we wish you all the best. All of Asia is behind you as you are representing not only Hong Kong, you are representing Asia. So all the best, and I'm sure you will be the best referee that you can be, and I'm hoping probably the best referee award could be yours. Who knows? Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being with us on Asia Rugby Live. I'm Rod, and this is Asia Rugby Live. See you again. Goodbye.